Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, joined with Beth for an audio review. A lot of people on the radio show, when I do the live stream radio shows, have mentioned this movie, Night of the Creeps. That people want me to see it, suggested for me to see it, and after watching session 9 and that being suggested and paid $4 to stream it, I'm like, I think I'm done paying to see suggestions people have, because Beth and I didn't really like that very much.
It
So
wasn't horrible, but it wasn't a thumbs up.
one of the whatchamacallit visitors or to the channel by the name of Wade Wilson, Jojo Wilson, Joseph Wilson, I pretty much just call him Wilson now, in the chat of the radio show, was very, very, very gracious. Thank you very much, Wilson, to do a Laserdisc rip of Night of the Creeps, and uploaded it somewhere and sent me the link, and today we downloaded it and watched Night of the Creeps. So Beth and I are coming at you to review
Night of the Creeps, if you didn't catch that title the 3 times he already said it.
So would you like to start this review off, Beth? Okay.
Well, it's kind of a slow starter. It had kind of a double beginning. Starts out in like the 50s at a frat house, and on the radio there was talk about this murderer that escaped this insane asylum, but driver turned off the radio before we could hear exactly what was going on with it. And then you cut to some kids at like some lookout point, and this thing comes out of the... Well, no, I guess I missed the beginning. The beginning was up in space. And these little creatures with, like, I don't know, little alien butts, cute, were chasing
She
each
thought
other.
the naked aliens were cute.
Alien butts were cute. And something about the experiment can't leave the ship.
For some, they don't explain any of this, but there's an
They don't.
alien ship, and one of the aliens is like running with their tube of experimental whatever. I don't know. He's
Yeah.
gonna take this away so to save the universe. I don't know, but he ends up ejecting this tube of experimental something out of the
Out of the
alien
spaceship,
ship, and it okay.
which turns out, which reminded me of the lookout point.
Yeah, where the lookout point reminded you of the alien
Yeah,
tube.
this chick was looking up at the stars trying to find the brightest star, and this apparently what was ejected from the spaceship is being ejected down to Earth, and they witnessed it. And all of a sudden you go back to... change time to 1984?
86, but before that happens, in the
Oh,
late
the boyfriend.
the late 50s, yeah, we're introduced to this kind of very brief whatever love triangle between this chick
and a cop and the
this
current
young
boyfriend.
cop and
Yeah.
current boyfriend. We don't really know what it means at the time, and
Yeah.
I guess the cop thought they were, I don't know, she was sweet on him and maybe decided to go with the rich guy instead or whatever. But what ends up happening is there's some on the radio, some escape killer from the nut house, and
Axe murderer.
the girl in the car ends up getting axed, and it cuts to present day 86, and shit. What
Frat
happens?
house.
Oh, frat house again. Oh, okay.
Same frat house.
We're introduced to these main characters. One of which would, I don't know if it was probably right around this time, would also play Rusty in National Lampoon's European Vacation. That's pretty much the only other thing I've seen him in. And his buddy, the character of his buddy's kind of fun with his whatever double, I don't know what you call it, double crutches things, and walks around. And it's funny, his buddy is, it's kind of cool actually, having like a quote unquote quote unquote whatchamacallit character, disabled person being so like character being so cool and tipped over your tea, I suppose, and being so what's that word?
Ambitious.
No, confident. Yeah,
Confident,
it was really
ambitious.
cool, to have a quote unquote disabled character be so cool and confident and stuff, but
Cocky.
and cocky and stuff. So I don't even really remember. Oh, the guy who plays Rusty and whatchamacallit, basically the main character, Rusty from National Lampoon's European Vacation, has got this big crush on this chick. And
from the sorority that apparently the girl from the 50s joined.
oh, okay, that's how the whole plot goes. So,
Uh-huh.
okay, go ahead.
So the girl gets axed by the murderer, and the boyfriend goes off trying to figure out what fell into the woods, and then it cuts to the modern day sorority. So that's where we're all caught up, and Rusty, what was his name?
Well, his name's not Rusty in this movie.
Rusty. Anyway,
The main character, who's crazy,
falls in love with the girl from the sorority house. Same, like, but they're not frat people. But the girl is a sorority sister, and they tried to become frats in their like
in hopes that if he becomes a
fraternity
guy, he'll have a better chance with this chick. So then the initiation is to go steal a cadaver and
put it on a different sorority's steps, but apparently the cadaver that they find was in a cryogenic lab, which was the boyfriend from the 54 that went into the woods to find out what was ejected from the sky, and he's cryogenically frozen in this tube that the walkingly challenged individual lets out.
good.
And then they run screaming like banshees from this cryogenic lab, and then all the excitement starts to begin. What's the excitement?
Yeah, having only seen it once, it's hard to remember everything, but I guess the first thing that happens is that one guy who got uncryogenically thawed kind of walks naked back to, I guess, the same
Sorority
house where, you know, his girlfriend was staying, and kind of went to that door and that window or whatever, and I think it just cuts, and then later on we see. It's funny how it's like we see that the body is laying there and the head looks like it's split open. They always call these bodies headless, even though it's got a head with split open head. But it looks like it's this split open by an axe. But as the movie wears on, we come to find out that what's happening is these corpses are being controlled by these slug-like creatures
that eat the brain.
Roll across the floor.
Stroll across the floor.
Oh, whatever. So what happens is, I don't know why for some of them they get to their destination. I don't know why. Is it explained why they just jump out of the head whenever they feel like it? Maybe the body deteriorates too much and they pop out of the head and go somewhere else.
Or they smell fresh brain and they want the fresh brain.
That's what causes what looks like an axe mark in the head. But honestly, the middle's kind of a blur.
It was kind of filler.
Then Tom Atkins plays this detective who we find out. Beth knew like right away that it was the guy from the beginning, and I was like, how do you know that? Like, they didn't really even reveal it yet, but it ends up, for us slow viewers like myself, it ends up being revealed later on. Well,
I better tape my mouth shut because these slug things are after my brain.
Actually, no. Maybe it's because I'm tired or something, but I just realized that the scene that introduces Tom Atkins is like him having a nightmare of the axe murdering thing. So
I was looking at old crime photos.
Yeah, so
that's where I put it together.
Anyway, regardless, Tom Atkins plays the older version of that young cop at the beginning who thought he was, in good graces with the chick, but she ended up going for some other guy, probably more rich. Tom Atkins' character in this movie is pretty funny. You can tell that this movie's, I think the guy who wrote and directed it, probably a big fan of these kind of movies from this era. There's a little scene where it's Plan 9 from Outer Space is playing on the TV, and just the way that Tom Atkins' character has an old, late 50s squad car is really cool, and the Tom Atkins character is really kind of fun.
Well,
and the dialogue is really kind of period, like from an old B movie from the 50s.
So I guess Tom Atkins is the detective.
Yep.
In one of the scenes, Tom Atkins pretty much spills his guts about how he murdered the axe murderer that chopped his girlfriend up to bits. And come to find out later, well, we see like these slugs going across the sidewalk, and one goes beeline for
the
this
house mother's. We don't even. I don't know if we know it's the house mother's cottage when it.
Well, we don't know that until we beeline
yeah.
for it, and then well, we see the slug go beeline for this cottage, and the detective goes back. I don't know why they had some kind of call there. Was the house mother found? I don't know. There was some kind of call there, and
At some point, the house mother's just like watching. Oh, she's watching Plan 9 from outer space.
oh yeah,
And then it's like, oh, the scene before this, it's revealed by Tom Atkins that
Something
after he
happens.
killed the axe murderer, he buried the corpse out into some field, which is now the house mother's house. So then we cut to her watching Plan 9 from outer space, and the axe murderer axes his way through the.
Oh, so she must have called the cops while she's hearing the noise coming from the floor. Because somehow the cops show up to the house. I don't remember that detail.
Right, but anyway, the axe murderer comes up through the house, and at that point we're like, oh, these slug things must be slithering around and getting into whatever, Well, I guess at the end of the day, they must just be brain eaters or something. Because that's another little plot point that there's the student with the jars of brains. Where should I put these? Oh, I'll put them in the basement. So I would imagine these slugs are just looking for brains, and I guess, maybe when they eat out all the brains, then they just pop out, and that's why they pop out.
Yeah, because they're done eating.
Because they're done eating brains.
But
so I guess
there are no
they're
brains
just,
in a corpse.
There's brains in the corpse.
Okay. Well, there must not have been very many. But so the axe murderer corpse is walking around, and the detective and their squad of teams, shoot at the corpse, and then the detective shoots his head, which all the little slug things fly out of. And there's that plot point where we know that the slug things are in the brain. Cut back to walkingly challenged friend who sees them in some kind of bathroom and happens to have some matches.
When she says them, she means the slugs are slithering around the bathroom floor as he's on the toilet.
Yeah, so just out of instinct, I guess, he lights one on fire, and that's what kills him. And he can't get his crutches, so he's crawling out of the bathroom, and one goes beeline for his face, and then it cuts. And then other stuff happens, and main characters. That was his roommate.
In the meantime, this
quote
unquote cute chick has had it with her asshole kind of fraternity boyfriend, and kind of asked the main character Rusty. He's not Rusty in this movie, but he's Rusty in another movie. Asks him to the formal the next night, and he's like, "Oh boy, okay, sure."
And he misses his roommate. Can't find him anywhere.
Oh, okay. So we'll just cut to the chase.
While he's getting ready in his tux, he sees a tape recorder, which reminded you of
this franchise. It says it doesn't say play me. It says listen or something, and it was kind of a gut wrenching scene, honestly. So his quote unquote disabled friend made an audio tape recording while the slugs in his head slowly eating his brain to let his buddy know what's going on
and how to kill him,
which was really kind of cool.
And it's like, I'm in the boiler room.
So I guess he went there because heat
kills them. Maybe the boiler room is hot enough for the slugs. But so Rusty from another movie, not the character here, goes down to the boiler room, and we find his roommate's body and a little burnt slugs. That was sad. That was really sad. But that kind of gave those motherfuckers and burn them all. So that kind of gave
him the
courage,
the drive to really want to kill him.
But yeah.
So here. What's so funny?
Oh, I just remembered the bus scene.
Well, that's what I was just gonna get at. So for this is the last part of the movie, last third or whatever. the big night, formal night or whatever. All these fraternity
boys.
assholes gonna get on this bus to drive
Party bus.
party bus to go to the dance, and they end up getting in a car wreck and die. The slugs.
Oh, because the bus driver tries to avoid a zombie dog.
Yeah, there's a zombie cat. Well, the cat doesn't last very long, but there's a zombie dog that plays a pretty big part towards the end in this movie, and so they get in a car accident or a bus accident, and then later on, all these fraternity boys show up to the sorority, and the famous line.
The detective
Tom
is
Atkins,
looking out the window and says, "I got good news and I've got bad news. Good news is your dates are here. Bad news is they're all dead."
And then Beth's like, "Oh, I saw that trailer. I recognize that line."
Yeah, that was fun.
And for the record, I do want to say I do like how this is shot with, like, I don't know, kind of like wide lenses, and the camera moves are really cool, and the lenses and the way it's shot is really kind of, I don't know, it echoes that. I think a lot of movies from the era that this movie's trying to replicate, the 60s and B movies and stuff, 50s.
Did really well.
It kind of, shooting it that way kind of replicates the feel of those movies. And
we're trying to remember why all these slugs are going to the basement, and we remember.
Well, no, at first they're fighting them off, and they go into this outdoor storage area, and we're trying to remember where the hell they put the brains, and they're not in there, and then she
said the basement.
As we were watching the movie, I'm like, there has to be a reason that brains thing was set up for later on, and sure enough, yeah, the brains were put in the basement, and
we were hoping to see like all these little brains animated.
I was hoping that we were gonna see brains bouncing or rolling around on the ground, but that would have been kind of cool, but I guess not.
No, instead there's like thousands of slugs in the corner.
Yeah, they must have put the brains in the corner, and at the end they find all these slugs that are in the corner eating on the brains, and the Tom Atkins character is gonna do this self-sacrifice to blow up all the slugs.
Yeah, that was kind of sad. So he's like doing this slow count from 20. He's throwing gasoline all over these slugs. And he's got tape over his mouth at first.
So they don't
go in his mouth.
And I was like, what the fuck's the tape on his mouth for? And Beth, so they don't go in his mouth. Oh!
Well, there's other ways, but... But no, I would actually, So he ends up blowing up the sorority house. And then, would you like to describe the final scene with the lovely lady that survived? The main character?
You can, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the guy who fell in love with this girl from the sorority, and the girl from the sorority who was the date, was blasting all these people's heads off with the flamethrower. Anyway, the dog walks up to her, and the dog's dead. Yeah. Zombie dog. And then the last scene you see is her going down to pet the dog, and the dog opening its mouth, and one of the things flying towards the camera.
And then
so
that's it. Kind of sequel setup or whatever. I think there is a second one.
Sequel setup.
So Wade, I don't know if you've got that on Laserdisc or not, but obviously I'm not gonna request that you rip and send me Laserdisc rips, but
no request at all.
Yeah.
But I would give this movie a thumbs up. It was fun.
Movie reviews is between 0 and 4 stars. So
0 and 4 stars. So movie review, I would give it 4 stars. It was kind of fun.
What?
Why wouldn't you give it 4 stars?
I kind of thought the first half was.
But the second half makes up for it.
Yeah.
I know another movie that has a slow start and a good ending.
That's nice. I'm thinking of my stars.
He's trying to count.
Beth's gonna be mad, and maybe the listeners as well. 2 3/4 stars out of 4 stars for Night of the Creeps. Yeah, I guess the first half for me was as much as I do appreciate
the story build up.
As much as I do appreciate like the paying homage to B movies from the 50s, I almost felt like some of the dialogue and stuff, I don't know, because it took place in '86, it just was out of place. So it's like I appreciate what the writer director did, and at the same time I'm like, somehow it just doesn't fit with '86 and whatever. I'm being harsh or whatever,
You are
but
being very harsh on this movie. See, the beginning was the buildup of the plot, the
yeah,
describing of the characters, the twist of the axe murderer cop girlfriend and boyfriend that discovers the aliens experiment, and it just all built up to the end. I like the it was a slow build up, but I appreciated the time they spent building the characters. That's why I give it a 4.
very
4 stars.
very good. I'm very glad to hear that.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're glad, and I hope the listeners are glad that you're glad that I'm glad.
Well, thank you very much again, Wade, aka JoJo, aka Joseph Wilson, for the Laserdisc
Thanks, Wilson.
rip. That was definitely appreciated, and it looked pretty great.
Yeah.
Looked pretty great. So,
Oh, I like the A to B little video
I
on
was
there.
wondering
That
how
was
the side
fun.
change was going to be handled. He just kind of let it record, I guess, as it did an automatic flip. But
That was. I've never seen a laser disc, so I guess this is as close to a laser disc as I'll ever get.
oh, okay, there you go.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll catch you with the Friday the 13th, the series, and maybe a Nate and Beth show in the future, and we don't know. See you soon, or let's talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot for listening.
Later, kids.